Welcome back to our study on the book of Romans. This is the Romans Education Part 1, and this is going to be session 20. We've just got through doing an outline of this passage here in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And what I'm looking at here is, I said, if we break that passage down, that's what's going to make it easy to identify those four body attributes that we're looking for. So here's my next question. Why is it so important for us to identify those four body attributes? And I'm going to answer the question for you. Because if you can't identify them, you won't be aware of them. And if you're not aware of them, they can't be in your thinking, they can't be in your living. And if they're not there, listen to this, you can't labor with your Father in them. Because this is the means by which you're about, in verses 6 through 8, you're about to labor with God the Father. There's one other reason why they're critically important. And this is a little bit like a bombshell, so I'm going to try to tone it down. The reason it is so important for us to have these and to be able to labor with our Father in this is because these are the four body attributes that actually bring a living union between members into existence. I'm going to say that a different way. In order for us to ever be what God intended a local assembly of believers to be, that's when it actually starts, right there. All right, I'm going to pump it up the next notch. A church is not a church until those four things are up and running in it. All it is one more group that happens to use the Bible to do some things, but it is not the thing that actually allows it to be one body in Christ. It's just another group. And there's a big difference between a assembly operating as a body with these four characteristics in it and a group just getting together to look at things in the Bible. Because, and haven't people always challenged us with that? Why in the world do we need to know the Bible? I mean, after all, when I get to heaven, He's going to just give us everything we need anyway. You ever heard that one? Why in the world? And you know what? We kind of come to this thinking of, well, you know what? Are we just studying the Bible for study's sake? Now you understand you're not studying the Bible for study's sake. You're studying the Bible because something that you're going to do in eternity is hinging on this. This is more than just, oh, this is a neat way to spend an afternoon. This is preparing you for what you're going to do in eternity. And for this to truly become, I don't know if this is, I think it's as exciting to you as it is to me, but for this group to truly become, you know, if I was Bob and Boo, I'd be thinking, this is going to happen in my home. Something is going to happen in my home that hasn't yet happened in any church building. That we're actually now going to learn. And you know what this small group is? This is I'm saying in comparison to the heavenly places with the entire body of Christ, this is a microscopic sample of that group that's going to be in the creature. And what we're going to learn to do here among ourselves is the exact same thing you're going to have to do when you get up there, when you're delivering the creature from the bondage of corruption, or reversing the creature was made subject to vanity, or carrying out any of those things in the ages to come. What we're about to engage in is exactly the same thing that has to be in our thinking and in our living and in our labor up there. And so what God does is He boils us down to this and He goes, this is where you get to practice. Look at those people around the room and think, they're my guinea pigs. I'm going to practice on them. This is how I'm going to sharpen my skills. And we're going to get it wrong together, and we're going to get it right together, and then we're going to come to another. And then you know what? The first time this thing really starts working, when this thing really starts clicking, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, You know what? Now I understand what he meant when he said, if we're all members of the body, it's only when the members of the body are assembled in one place can the body do something that it could never do any other time. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to change the way you look at this. Because you're going to show up here one day and you're going to say, man, I tell you what, I feel like I've been the last 2 weeks without my hands. I can't wait to get here, not just because, oh, you know what, it's a wonderful fellowship and we enjoy each other's company. It's going to go way beyond that. You're going to feel like, man, this is the reason I'm here on this earth, is to function like this. The good and bad part of it is, at the end, you're going to say, I don't want to go home. What would you do if your body only assembled itself one time every 2 weeks? The whole rest of the time, you got a hand in North Richland Hills and a foot over here in Glen Rose, and maybe the eyes are out in Hico, and maybe the ears are over in Granbury. And you know what? You're going to learn, and you already know this, that's no body at all. That's just a bunch of individual members that can only do what an individual member can do. And what you're about, and I know you already know this, is it is simple. And that's the wisdom of God in this. He's going to teach you. If the whole body was just one member, you wouldn't be able to do anything except what that one member's office allowed it to do. In fact, he's going to say, if the whole body was an eye, where's the hearing? And if the whole body were hearing, where's the smelling? You can't that whole body's got to, by definition, has got to have a lot of different members. And every member's got its own job to do. And when that body comes together, and it doesn't matter how simple it is. Like I'm going to throw Tommy my marker. I'm letting him know this ahead of time. I'm fixing to throw it to him right now, and I will not hit you. Okay, Teresa. I hope I won't hit you. Okay, I don't intend to hit you. Okay, you might get hit, but look, okay. But if I throw Tommy this marker, now just watch Tommy, okay? You ready? Okay, now you know, how did he know where to put his hand out to catch that? His eye was watching that marker. And you know what? Even though his ear heard me and his eye watched, and when it came, you notice as soon as I said it, in a minute I'm going to throw Tommy this marker, his hand didn't go. Just like it was searching for it. He waited till he saw an action. And did you also notice his foot didn't jump up there and go, no, me, I got it. If it had, you got therapy issues. You know what? The body is not in competition with itself. Every member of the body knows what it's supposed to do. Do you notice his feet didn't just go running off in all directions? They just planted right there. Only ever so slightly. Because of the way I pitched it, he sat in one spot ever so slightly. That torso moved just a fraction forward. Do you know what it was doing? It was cooperating with what the hand was trying to do. Do you see, there's a lot of things that are going on together, but the body is not there. The body is not, it just knows. We have these things naturally working in us. And if he didn't have those things going on in his body, he couldn't have caught that marker. He'd been a whole lot like that second grade boy trying to catch that pop fly. Pow! You know, he just hasn't quite got that coordination down yet. But there are some things that are going to go on with us. Now, look. So what I need to do is I need us to get us over to 1 Corinthians and take a look at this so we can dissect this. So 1 Corinthians chapter 12. For the body is not one member but many. If the foot shall say, because I'm not the hand, I'm not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I'm not the eye, I'm not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? And if the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now God hath set the members, every one of them in the body, as it hath pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet one body. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. Now there's that whole area that we talked about right there. That's verses 14 to 22. And I told you that was going to divide into two parts. Now, the reason I see that as a section is because those are all of that is very closely related. Back me up, Trent, if you would. Look at verse 14. That's what I want to get to. Yeah. For the body is not one member, but many. And now skip me down to about verse 19 or 20. But now are they many members, yet one body. Do you see how that theme keeps coming up? But it's kind of reversed. Actually, first he says, well, in one place he says the body is many members. In the other place he says it's many members are one body. What you're looking at is something from two different perspectives. You're looking at very similar issues. So these first two attributes are going to be very closely related. Now, to understand what it is that the foot is saying when it says, because I am not the hand, I'm not of the body, what is the foot really saying? Now, I have to tell you, I'm really glad to do this with you because I didn't nail this exactly right. And I'm really glad we haven't posted that other video yet because tonight I'm going to get this right. And I feel really good. There was this nagging question I had in my mind all the time about this thing. And even when I went through it with Monahans, I kind of told them, oh, look, but now it's clear. So fortunately, you get to be the beneficiaries of that. This, and let me kind of stay on track here because again, I'm trying to do this in the way that I'm getting used to doing it. Let me take you just to this first section. Is that next verse? There you go. That's where I want. For the body is not one member, but many. Now he's going to explain something about that. If the foot shall say, because I'm not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? Well, he doesn't really need an answer to that. He knows you know. In other words, if your foot ever said, hey, if I'm not the hand, then I'm not part of the body, what is the foot saying when it says that? It's almost an indication that, because I'm not some other member, then I'm not, okay, Ron says, okay, he didn't like his job. I'm not important. All of those kinds of things are there. And by the way, who's doing the talking? Let's just look at just verse 15. Who's doing the talking? The foot. And who's the foot talking about? Well, think. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body. Foot's really talking about himself, isn't he? I mean, I'm not saying he didn't mention someone else, but really, he's talking about himself. So the wrong thinking of the foot is, if I'm not something else, then I'm not part of the body. Right. Now, that's the foot talking to himself. What we're going to see in the second part of this section is the eye is going to say to the hand, I have no need of thee. You know what the difference is there? Now you got a member talking about another member. Arrogant. Yeah, arrogant. Doesn't that take you back to, for a man not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think? Do you see how all this is going to tie together? All right, so what you've got is first, and I would just want to say, because, in fact, I've got it on the PowerPoint, so I won't write it up there. He's going to explain, because the ear makes the same statement. Because I'm not the eye, I'm not of the body. But if your ear isn't the eye, isn't it still part of the body? Why? It's the way it's made. They're connected. Yeah, okay, all those answers are right. Look, where are we? There you go. If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? And what does that tell you? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? You wouldn't. But what does that tell you? You've got to have all of those parts, right? Because a body needs every member. They are all important. And how important? Are some more important? They're equally important because it doesn't matter how big shot an eye is. If all Tommy was one big eye sitting in the chair and I threw the marker at him, it hit him in the eye. And would he be able to catch it? Not a bit. Would he be able to hear me say, I'm fixing to throw you the marker? No. All he'd be is this one big eye going, why is he chunking the ow? And he wouldn't be able to say that out loud. In fact, he couldn't think it. You'd just be a total loser if you were just an eye. Because, all right, but you understand. In fact, he's going to say that. This sounds ridiculous. Brother Mike, you're just being ridiculous. No, it's exactly Paul's point. But now hath God set the members, every one in the body, as it hath pleased him. Let's talk about the word set. When a jeweler makes a ring and it's got 1 stone or 5 stones in it, you know what that's called? That's a set or a setting. And he arranges those things in a very specific way. It's what he wants in that ring to make that ring there. I mean, it's real easy to say. Let's say it's a birthstone ring, and you got 3 kids. How many stones are in the ring? 3. And they're going to be certain stones because they're going to match the stone that goes along with the month of the birth of the child, so you can remember what was I thinking. But okay, that went right over y'all, didn't it? That didn't even land, did it? That set is by design. God has set the members, every one of them in the body. You know what that means? There's design. He's still talking about a physical body here. There's design here. God said 2 feet, 5 toes on each foot, 2 hands, 5 fingers on it, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 head. He designed all of that. With what in mind? Whatever he designed for a body to do, he equipped that body when he set the members in the body. As it hath pleased him. Because not only is that thing by design, the design, as it hath pleased him, let me just use this word to set it off. It pleased him because that design of the body is in perfect agreement with his purpose for the body. There's design that leads to a purpose. And just like your body has been put together the way it is by design for a purpose, when he now talks about an assembly being a body, and there's going to be offices in that assembly, guess what? Every one of those offices are set in there by design. Who decided what those offices would be? God did. And why did he design it that way? Because that's how it will fulfill his purpose for it. Does that make sense to you? And see, that's the genius of God right there. But then he's going to come along and he's going to encapsulate everything we've been saying up to this point. When I was making fun and saying if Tommy was one big eye, what he would and wouldn't be able to do. Look in verse 19. And if they were all one member, where were the body? In other words, he's saying the same thing we're saying. Because up here he said, look, if the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? If the whole body was hearing, how would you smell? Then he's got to come along and go, actually, the truth is, if the whole body was one member, you wouldn't even have a body. What is he saying by that? The same thing you got told in Romans 4 and 5, chapter 12, verse 4 and 5, and the same thing you start off here in verse 14. A body is many members. And they all don't have the same office. They can't have the same office, or it wouldn't even be a body, which means now the purpose can't be accomplished. Yes? Does everybody see that? I know it's simple, but you know what? It's simple when you look at it in your own physical body, but then you look at that and say, that's the way it's supposed to work in a local assembly. Oh my goodness. And now you understand that a physical body can't function and really have life until these 4 things are at work in it, and you can't become one body in Christ. A church can't really come into existence. Oh, they can call themselves a church, but they're not going to be that church until these 4 things are up and running in them. That's the critical nature of this. Man, I tell you, this is just really exciting. You realize you're right on the edge of this. And so you're going to have a different idea when you come in here from now on. Okay, I'm about to lose half the crowd right here, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you put your hand on that doorknob and you start to come in here, you're going to be saying to yourself, I'm fixing to go to work. John's going, I'm out. No. Why am I saying that? I don't mean work like, we're all going to dig ditches. I'm talking about you're going to put these body attributes to work among the other members here. Do you see what I'm saying? See, I don't have any problem. When I put my hand on that door, I'm about to go to work. Now, you are too. And we really, because, and there's something to see here. Okay, I got to get with this now. So, give me this next one. We did that one in 17. If they're all one member, where's the body? And we did that. God set the members. I did that for you. As it hath pleased him. We talked about his purpose. That's behind all of that. So, let me ask you a question. When you found out that you were a son and God had a plan to educate you in his wisdom so that one day you could labor with him, what is the end result of the sonship education? What's going to happen? Yeah, it's a real broad question, so I won't just leave you hanging out there. But can anybody just maybe spit it out? It's something we saw back in Romans 8. It's the final goal of this thing.
So that we'll be equipped so that when we go to the heavenly places, we'll be able to perform.
That's a perfect answer. I'm looking for a terminology that's sitting in verse 8. That's exactly right, Ron. Yeah, conform to the image of God's Son. Linda got it. I just want to say for the tape, Linda got it. Oh, she read it on Ron's notes. Okay. Look, if the end result is for you to be conformed to the image of God's Son, do you remember how the rest of that verse goes? For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he, talking about his Son, might be the firstborn among many brethren. Do you know what this is all geared for? One son can't do this alone. You're going to need the other members. And do you know this thing is constructed so that even God's Son is not going to do it alone? I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying it's now designed that he's going to have many brethren conform to his image to get this thing done. What part of the body is he, by the way? You already know. He's the head. He's the head of the body. That's a good place for him, isn't it? Yeah. I got a feeling I know where I'm going to be. Okay. But here's my point. This thing is designed with a body in mind. We didn't think about that when we went through that in Romans 8:29. But can you see now how what he's saying there, that's really body-type thinking. This is going to be inclusive of a lot of people. And this is a great thing. Okay, so it's at this point I need to take just a minute and address the folks that are watching either on the internet or YouTube or watching on the DVDs. Because right now, if you're sitting at home and you don't have an assembly that you can be a part of, you're not here or you're not out in West Texas or any of that, and you may be thinking, look, I understand what you're saying. It's many members in one body, and the body needs all of those members. And this is not built for one person alone. And here I am out in the middle of, who knows, Montana, and there's not a church that understands this kind of stuff. And what in the world am I going to do out here by myself? I guess I'm sunk. You're not sunk. There are some things that can creatively be done that will not just leave you floundering out there by yourself as though you're just an eye and no other part of the body is around. And we've put some things in place to help you do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you an email, talk2mbi@gmail.com. And if you're in that condition, you send us an email, and we've already got folks who are going to talk to you about how to, from where you live, integrate you into a group of people that will allow you to not only have interactive learning, but to actually put these sonship skills into practice. Now, it's going to take some effort on your part. I will tell you now, this group is not going to come to Montana so we can have a service with you and you can see that. But we can do the next best thing, and we're going to make efforts to do that. And things are already in place to do this. And so we're going to be talking more about this, but I want to just give those folks that are, I don't want you to think you're without hope. This can be done, and we're going to help you get it done. And so, anyway, I just needed to say that before we move on. All right, so here's the list that I want to give you here. First of all, here's what we know, that this is reflexive. In other words, the foot is talking about itself, not reflective. It's not talking about someone else. That is, the first attribute is how the foot feels about itself, not how it feels about other members. The second thing is, therefore, the application will impact how I feel about myself as one member among the many members of a body. Yes? Am I just reeling through this too fast? Are you understanding what I'm saying here? That this is the foot is talking about itself. Because I'm not the hand, I am not of the body. All right. And the second one says, all right, how I see this is going to impact how I feel. In other words, if we're going to take that analogy and translate it over to here, you may be looking at that and saying, well, kind of like the foot, you know, how do I feel about myself as one member among these many members? All right, so here's the next thing. It's explained that we cannot all be an eye or a hand or anything else because my office, and I mean that no matter what office you have, you need to be saying this, because my office is needed to complete the body. It doesn't matter what member you are or what office you have. You are part of what makes this a real body. Now the next one, therefore, no matter what my office or my place in the body, I have a use or purpose. Now let me just tell you that this is where I landed at last week when I talked about that first body characteristic being that of having a use or having a purpose. But you know what? I got so focused. Look, you have no idea how many times I chased myself around the room trying to come to a conclusion about this. But you know what? There's no godly conduct in that. That's a correct conclusion. In other words, yes, to say that even if I'm not the hand, I have a use or purpose. Can you understand how we got to there? But now you've got to have, because this is the godly living part of it, I've got to have a conduct or behavior that comes out of that. And so what the foot is saying, and I'm going to give you the word here, but the conduct that comes out of knowing I have a use and a purpose in this body. In fact, does anybody just want to spit it out, what you think it might lead to? There's a basic godly conduct. I'm just looking at the time, and I really don't have much time to give it to you to do this. But the conduct that comes out of that kind of relationship where you know that no matter who you are in the body, you have a use and a purpose, demands your participation. It demands that you participate. If you really do have a use and a purpose, you know what? We need you to step up. Right? Do you see that? And you know what that means? There's no more sitting on the sideline going, well, you know what? I'm not the hand, so I'm not of the body. No, you're the foot. And we need a foot. That we need 2 feet. But my point is this, that if you realize I really do have a use, I really do have a purpose, that demands that you participate in this body. You can't stand on the sidelines anymore and let the rest of the body carry your load. You know what you call that? We have a term for that. It's not derogatory. But when one part of the body is either missing or not functioning or is injured, and you have and the rest of the body has to compensate for that, you have a what? You have a handicap. And you know what that means? The other members are having to make up for what that member is not able to do for whatever reason. And do you ever realize in a physical body, your foot never goes on strike because it can't be the hand? Your foot never refuses to participate until you get as old as I am and you wake up in the morning and your whole body goes, no, we vote no. And then finally, that gets overcome. But, okay. And sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So, let me give you this last thing and then we'll stop for our break. Look at what Charles Smith says. Oh, I'd put that in there. The conduct of a living union relationship where a member understands it has use or purpose to the body demands that member's participation. We've got to do this. And so let me show you this. Charles Smith, I love this. So I thought, I need to look at this word and make sure that this is being thought about properly. Participate, to take a part, share, or portion in common with others. Look, participate, he's still talking here. Participate implies a more perfect unity or feeling of community or possession. Hence, it's always followed not by of, but in. You participate in. Isn't that great? And then he says, two persons may partake, that's a similar word, may partake of the same dish, but they participate in each other's feelings, convictions, joys, or sorrows. Now, let me show you Charles Smith. He said a lot of the same thing. George Crabb. He said, we partake of that which pleases ourselves, but we participate in that which pleases others. Oh, boy, that is good stuff, isn't it? And you know what I thought? That's a perfect representation of what knowing I have a use or a purpose is all about. That's the godly conduct. And now you've got the first one. We'll take our break, we'll come back, and then we'll take up our next session, 21. So, all right, but we've got to come back on time, okay, so we can keep this up. All right.